Okay, so next day, see where we're at. So we're almost done. So yeah, 37.2. Still dripping pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. Say that's close enough. Temperature did maintain itself at 88, which is what it was yesterday, but it's also been like 0 degrees Celsius, so I'd call that warm for this time of the year. So I think I'm kind of thinking when the temperature gets below -10, the kiln is not able to maintain temperature using the residual heat that comes off the motors inside the kiln. So yeah, I'm going to call this one. So we're going to shut that off, turn off the fans, and then I got to go inside because the compressors run independent. Go inside here, it's nice and toasty warm. Turn the light on. And shut this one off. And then I got to climb up over there and stretch out and get the other one off. At some point I want to get this up in the air. And I might even just disassemble it and make a new cabinet. Because the heating element is around here. And that's all I really need. So a box that can hold the heating element and that, and maybe put it up here and hit that fan blow that way for the times that we need the extra heat. But we'll see. I mean, the plan is this spring is to install a outdoor wood boiler heater in here. I might expand it into a shipping container. We'll see. So I might not even have to convert this. I might just end up selling this. If somebody else wants to fix the compressor, they can. Yeah, so I'm going to climb up over there now and get that taken care of. You got to be a bit of a gymnast to maneuver around here. Oh, I guess you didn't see that. You didn't see my good dismount. Like I said, you got to be a gymnast to maneuver around here. All right, so we're done. We're going to call this. I still got a half a quart of rounds to block up because we got another 2 quarts that we got to put in the kiln in the next. Probably 2 days from now. That'll just sit and equalize out in temperature and moisture content until it's got to get pulled out, put into a shipping container so that we can deliver it later, and then load the kiln again. There we go. See you later. Oh, there she goes with crate number 7. We did 6 yesterday, and we topped it off today with 3 because these are each 1/4 of a cord crates of round wood, and so 9 crates. We'll probably get just a little bit more than a full cord, which is 8 of these crates. Only a little bit of the wood pile left. Found a rock as big as my fist in there. Didn't hit it, luckily. Big old gnarly one. We'll do that another day. we would probably split today, but we're going to call it a short day. Tomorrow we're supposed to get like 20 centimeters of snow. So we're not going to split because we don't want the split stacks to have snow in them. Ideally, split them, get them in shelter, and then when the kiln is ready, we'll load the kiln. So normally we don't even put it in the shelter. We split it and then empty the kiln, load that, and then so the kiln's only shut down for a little amount of time. You maintain the thermal mass of the walls and the insulation in the building. But wintertime, you can't always do that, so you got to work around the weather. Right, so what am I using? I'm using the 562 XP. Bought it 2 years ago. It's my main bucking saw. I'll probably break out the 372 for doing those couple of big pieces that are buried there. But otherwise, this is a great saw. Mitts. I just use these on my hands. If the logs weren't covered in snow and cold weather like it is now, like I think like -2 and wind chill -8 Celsius, I would just wear these, and they're great. But logs are snow covered, so what I do is I also have these woolen gloves. So I wear these, and then I put those on. Fingers are toasty warm. I can work all day. Now those wool gloves will get wet. I've been out here about an hour or so. They're a little bit damp now. Not a big deal. My hands are still warm. But you can always change them up for another set, or you can get these finger gloves. They work well, or even just the wool mitts, like the full-on mitt, where your four fingers are in one space and your thumb in the other. With these, and that's all I use. So works great. So I'm going to clean up the saw, fill it for another run, get it ready for the next day, and then call it a day. Catch you later. Okay, so let's run the numbers on this batch that we just finished off in the kiln. So I'm going to enter the date. So it's February 11th, and I checked the readings at 11:45 p.m. It was 1:45 this afternoon. So that's equivalent to 2 days and 4 hours since the last reading. So that's 48 and 4 is 52. So total hours, runtime was 165. The meter reading was 14,137. So kilowatt hours, total kilowatt hours was 105. The house's average is 1.45. So that we move over to the kiln kilowatt usage for the period, those 52 hours was 29.8 averages per hour. So the total kiln run for that 165-hour period comes to a total of $70.09, which is pretty good. I didn't have to have the heat on for very long, so that helped. So just you're averaging out then your average, these are just extra stats, average kiln cost per hour. So you can see it drops as the session proceeds along because it's high originally because of the heat that you're using, the electric heat in my case. And then as the air gets drier, the dehumidifiers aren't having to do their job as much, so you're consuming a little bit less electricity. So the temperature in the kiln was 88.3, so that's consistent. It's more or less maintained itself, but because the weather's been mild. mild in the sense of, -5. No heavy winds to, going up against the building and wicking warmth off the building. So it hasn't been all that windy. All right, so the numbers, we got 21 and 14 and 16 and 21. An average of 18 right there. So what other stats? You can see that once the heat was shut off here, during this period, not at the end of the period, but during this period. So once you turn off the heat and the kiln starts to cool off, it does have an effect, it seems, on the amount of moisture that's in the air that can be drawn out with the dehumidifiers. So it is important to keep the heat in the kiln. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, you drive two cords for estimated $70. That's pretty good. And that's right on par with what the performance normally is. And the kiln percentage ended up being 37.2. And I think today it was -5. Oops, wrong cell. -5. Oops. Mistake there. -5. And these are just stats that I used to monitor for the performance of when I first got the dehumidifiers, just to see how much moisture. I was kind of measuring, letting the water collect in 5-gallon buckets. And I used to measure the performance of the dehumidifiers. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, that concludes that run. And if we can go back to a previous run that shows these kind of stats. Let's see. I need to blow up through some previous kiln runs until we run into some stats. Here's one. All right, so this was in December 2024. We ended up with a kiln indoor humidity of about 40. I shut it off and see how long did it run for. And let's take a look over, and temperature's about the same. So these numbers here, where am I at here? Okay, so yeah. So this was using an SN35P, one of the smaller dehumidifiers that we have. Right now I'm running two SN55s in the kiln, and I put this 35 in the garage of our house. That's where it's currently at. But at the time, this was the first one that I bought. And so these are stats showing its performance. And so these readings are off the side of the dehumidifier. So container depth was just a 5-gallon bucket. And these are just calculations for the formula of the volume of the bucket. And these are measurements input for the amount of inches of water depth that were collected in the bucket. And so all that's converted out. Total gallons removed. So for that 4-day run, 51 gallons were removed. And it converts into pounds, so 430 pounds. So a little less than 2 pounds per hour over the term of the 4 days. So initially, it was slow because it was cold. And then once it started warming up inside the kiln, and the moisture started moving. Dehumidifier to pick it up and then draw it out, and so it got better. This here reading is a kilowatt meter that I have, and it's fairly accurate, and it gives me a sense of the amount of energy that it uses. I had it plugged into the dehumidifier, the SN35. So that gives me a calculation of how much of an expense the dehumidifiers were. And that correlates to the total energy for the period, which is where? Here. Right there. So a portion of it is the dehumidifier, grouped into that, and then the rest of it is for the fans and the electrical elements required to boost the heat. So the springtime, we're going to get the outdoor wood boiler installed, and then one of the 3 lines that are going to come off the boiler, one's going to be for the kiln, and so we're not going to need the electric heat that's currently in place. So there'll be a savings there. There's an expense to hooking up, the outdoor wood boiler heat and the heater unit and running pipe and all that sort of stuff. Capital cost allowance pays out over time. It should be able to easily, it's 100,000 BTU unit, so that should be more than plenty enough for that little kiln. And like I said in the previous video, depending on how that performs, I might turn around and run another line to a shipping container and probably take that 100,000 kilowatt or 100,000 BTU unit and put that in a 40-foot shipping container. Depends on how well it performs in the 20-foot insulated building that I have now. So the experiment continues.